Louis G's Sports Take. The Fran Brown era of Syracuse football kicks off later today as the Orange face the Ohio University Bobcats at 3:30 p.m. at the JMA Wireless Dome. And here are my three keys to the game. The first key to the game is that the Orangemen cannot underestimate Ohio. This is something that Fran Brown talked about a lot. In the past 2 years, Ohio collected a 20-7 record, a MAC East Division title, and two bowl wins. This is their fourth season under coach Tim Albin, and they have a new starting quarterback, Parker Navarro, who takes over for Curtis Rourke after he transferred to Indiana. They kept a lot of their starting O-line, something that Fran Brown talked about a lot, is also a really good unit. And we have to go into this game. I think a lot of fans thinking, "Oh, we're gonna beat them. We're gonna destroy them easily." Well, don't you remember FSU versus Georgia Tech? I mean, everyone had FSU beating Georgia Tech, and yet here we are. That didn't happen. But one thing about this game is that they have to take this year game by game. Really try and mesh together. Like, yes, we are trying to shoot for the college football playoffs, especially with the whole new 12-team system, but still, this is a whole new collection of coaching staff that need to come together to really find their footing. And they can't afford to mess up against an Ohio team that's had a lot of experience, in the playoff scene, the bowl scene, and they have to be able to know how to handle this team and really come together to get the win here in the home opener. The second point I'm going to get into is definitely a common theme we're going to see throughout this entire season, is that Kyle McCord needs to show up. This is definitely the big transfer that everyone was talking about. Kyle McCord coming from Ohio State University, taking over the starting job after CJ Stroud got drafted into the NFL, leading the Buckeyes to a respectable 11-2 record. He played in, I think it was 11, 12 games. And he will definitely help out in the pass game. Last year, Syracuse ranked 92 in scoring and had 171 passing yards per game. And their leading passer, Garrett Schrader, he only averaged 7.9 yards per attempt and 11 starts. And McCord, he's definitely a real increase in that. Last year, he averaged 9.1 yards per attempt. Now, granted, this was while he had guys like Marvin Harrison to throw to. He recorded 67 receptions. And at Syracuse, we only have one senior receiver, and that's Jackson Meeks from Georgia, and he didn't really get a lot of action with the Bulldogs. And another thing that Fran Brown talked a lot about is that Ohio has a really good secondary. They recorded 15 interceptions last year. Their leading defensive guy, Bryce Johnson, he left, but they're maintaining Austin Broley and Tank Pearson, who had 2 interceptions. And then there's Jeremiah Wood, who had 4 passes defended last season. Fran Brown, he's a former defensive backs coach. He clearly knows what a good secondary looks like when he sees it. So one thing that Kyle McCord needs to consider going into this game is that he has to make smart decisions. Same thing with Jeff Mixon, as a new offensive coordinator, because this is a young receiving core, a young supporting cast that's going up against a far more experienced secondary. McCord can't afford to make silly mistakes. Don't make the too risky plays. Same thing with Mixon. He's got to make sure McCord's in the best position to make good plays, whether that be some good checkdowns, game management, passes to the side, passes down the field, whatever. Whatever it is, it has to be something that this new receiving core can take slowly and not get eaten up by this far more experienced Ohio secondary. The third key to the game is regarding the Syracuse defensive front seven. They have to make sure Ohio doesn't get a lot of opportunities to dominate the play clock. This is something that I imagine the Bobcats doing a lot. They're going to run the ball, keep Kyle McCord off the field. And last year, Syracuse allowed 148.2 rushing yards per game. And Rivera is also a guy that can do that as well. Fran Brown talked about how good he is as a dual threat. It really caught his attention. And I think this is where guys like Fadil Diggs can come in handy. Last year at Texas A&M, he had a career high in tackles for losses and sacks. And we're going to see if he can give support to Marlowe Wax and Justin Barron. Really try and get that Ohio O-line to shake a little bit, like really test them, like really try and slip through them, not give Rivera a lot of room to work with, and provide pressure that could prevent the Bobcats from moving down the field quite often and keeping the Syracuse offense off the field. Overall, for this game, I see the Syracuse Orange winning 29-16. I think, again, if Syracuse doesn't underestimate Ohio, Kyle McCord plays smart, and the defensive front seven does what it can to not let Ohio dominate the play clock, I think the Orange will make a good first impression in the Fran Brown era and hopefully make a push to the college football playoffs. If you guys have different score predictions and you have different keys to this game, feel free to comment them down below. This has been a Louis G Sports Take. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.